All right, everybody, back with another one. Today we're going to take a look at a few different things. We're going to take a look at Trump's Marine One. We're going to take a look at the Trump dividend dollar and the Minneapolis Catholic Church shooting, the Cracker Barrel rebrand and then unbrand, and some more. So first, let's dive into what I thought looked really cool, the new Marine One President Trump issued. And then we'll take a look at the other stuff. Just a disclaimer, this video is probably going to be very loud. So if you have to turn down your volume for this part, I would do that now. All right, so that was Marine One. Pretty much looks like a newer version of what is probably going to replace the helicopter, which is a pretty good vehicle, but it has a lot of issues. It has a higher accident rate than airplanes, and it's a pretty fragile and delicate vehicle that, can crash pretty easily. Not to mention it doesn't work that well with, high winds like a plane is able to resist. This seems like a vehicle that we're probably going to end up replacing the helicopter with. And it's funny, ever since Trump got in office, he's been the only president to really, go and utilize a lot of these interesting craft that the government has been suppressing for a long time. The government has come up with some amazing craft with the help of, independent contractors and, military personnel, and then also third parties, major aeronautic companies like Boeing and Lockheed Martin, Learjet, some to name a few. There's also some really interesting ones popping up now that are creating craft just like this, but they're releasing it to the public and they look pretty cool. There's one company, I forget the name, Archer. They have some really cool product that looks like Tesla, but in terms of the style, but more, made for the sky. And we're headed into a time where I think we're getting closer and closer to the Iron Man days, where pretty soon, Trump will probably just be flying around in a suit without any craft, that you're sitting inside. So definitely interesting times. But Trump has been pretty cool about that, releasing a lot of these technological innovations to the public and utilizing them for government resources. Because also too, like they're definitely a lot further ahead than what they're releasing now to the public. And we're getting into the time where they're constantly selling everybody on the idea that UFOs are a thing and that all these spacecraft are out there and they're just all now becoming part of the conversation, even though this is something that goes back to, early 1900s at least. I mean, obviously much earlier than that too, but especially, well documented with Roswell in New Mexico, the whole weather balloon thing, and then going from there through the decades, many different craft. Well, a lot of this stuff probably throughout time was just military and government craft that was invented but kept under wraps because it was technologically advanced and they wanted to make sure that they always had leverage over other countries or, maybe even their own people, who knows. So they've always kind of kept that stuff under wraps to make sure that the people are always a little bit behind what the government knows and what the government is capable of, which is understandable, but that's not really how it's supposed to work, especially in a constitutional republic. But this is where we are now. So it looks like we're getting into the time where you're going to start seeing some really cool craft come out, and it's maybe going to get released to the public too for consumption so that it changes the way we do some things. I mean, you have to also think about like a lot of the vehicles that we use today are not much different technologically than stuff that was, originally invented. Even just looking at the car, we've made a lot of modifications with the materials used and the design and the comfortability, but we have not made much changes with the actual way the vehicle operates and the ease of use and even just technological advancements in its capabilities. I mean, if you look, there are some vehicles now where they can make parallel parking much easier, where the wheels spin out and they side park you right in between the two cars. Most cars today, especially from the major car companies, the wheels don't turn, but the front two to steer. All the wheels should be able to turn left and right fully so that the vehicle could go in and out. And again, like this is just such a simple modification that would make parallel parking easier. And we don't even have cars like that. They still operate the way they were made in the season piece in terms of functionality. So hopefully we'll start seeing a lot of this stuff come out and eventually be available to the public in many different ways so that we can commute much quicker, much easier, much more comfortable. But I just thought that was cool that he actually released or somebody from his team released that footage to the public. And it seems like a really interesting, craft. Now let's take a look at the Trump dividend dollar, something that he was talking about a little bit this year. And I think he might have mentioned it once, twice last year, but definitely this year, where he is basically looking to give the public, the American people, a dividend style distribution back from the tariff money. So we're going to take a look at that in an article from Reuters, but it will work allegedly a lot like a dividend stock, but making the Americans the investors. And instead of buying the stock and then getting a dividend back, the tariff money is coming into the country and the American people will be getting a percentage of that directly. I mean, it seems like he's saying that it's going to be directly, but let's take a look at the article and see what they say about it. So this is the article from Reuters. Trump says there could be a distribution of money from tariff revenues, and it's dated beginning of August, so it's recent. Within this last month, President Donald Trump on Sunday said some Americans could get some kind of dividend or distribution of money as a result of the tariffs being imposed on U.S. trading partners. There could be a distribution or a dividend on the people, to the people of our country. I would say for the people that would be middle income people and lower income people, we could do a dividend. So he told reporters. So it was just a brief article, basically getting his comment, saying essentially what I had said previously. What's cool about that is that it actually does a couple things. It gives the American people an interest stake in the country as though it's like a corporation, which there's a lot of back and forth about that. I won't get into that today, but essentially would make them like investors and would probably give more American people a sense of, patriotism and, mental investment in the country as though they actually care about, the economy now because it's in their best interest to, it starts to benefit them. And that might be a good thing for a lot of people who just can't get on board mentally because they look at the, economy and they look at what they're making and how hard they're working and they just don't feel that anything's really going well for them. So this could be a good way to incentivize them to be positive and patriotic and continue to put your, effort and energy into being a good American because now you're actually seeing some results. Sometimes people need that. They need to actually see results in order to motivate them. The other thing it does is it shows the people immediate success. So they see that Trump's actually doing good things with the tariffs. It's working and there's a payout. People are actually seeing money hit their account. They're going to realize, you know what, this tariff thing actually works so that the next administration, when they come in, if they try to undo it, it's going to really piss the people off and make them fight to keep it because they actually saw the results, monetarily rather than just saw the economy get a little bit better and then could have attributed that to some other factors. I think it's more of a strategic play from Trump to put that in place so that it incentivizes people. Because now, once you give somebody something, it's very hard to take it away. And once he put in the tariffs, he's going to try and reduce the tax burden on the people, maybe even do away with taxes in a lot of areas. Even Ron DeSantis is working towards eliminating property taxes permanently in the state of Florida. So this is going to be a national movement. You know, taxes are eliminated in many areas of our lives because there's just so many taxes that are, first of all of them are unconstitutional except sales tax. And, you know, even income tax, it's there's an amendment for it, but it's still technically unconstitutional, and there's been no law that has been made that says you have to pay them. So they are still voluntary, by the way. But this looks like it is building into a national movement, and I think the strategy here is, like I said, for him to let the people actually really see results from the tariffs by dollars in their bank account. It will hit a lot harder than just the economy getting a little bit better and then feeling the effects of that overall. Because that's not going to affect everybody. Not everybody's going to see the same thing in the economy because we're all in different classes in terms of, how much money everybody makes in society. Different tiers of the rich, middle, and poor class, and then sub tiers within those. But money hitting your account, people understand that no matter what class you're in. So I think it's more of a strategic play from Trump to do long term, get the American people behind the tariff thing so that it continues to stay. And then he's able to dismantle the income taxes and many other taxes as well. And then once everything shifts to the tariff system and gets rid of the tax system, it's going to be very hard for anybody to come in the future, Democrat or Republican, and undo all that because now you have the American people behind it and they felt the effects of it on a monetary basis in their own personal lives, not just economically overall. So for me, that seems like more of a strategic play. It's probably not the best thing to do in terms of how to allocate those funds. You would want to take them and throw them at the debt as much as possible to bring it down so that the nation prospers overall and in the long run, because it's going to take a long time to pay down the debt. And the tariffs will do that faster than our own taxes will. But the it's going to take a while. The more money that you take from that and give it to the American people rather than pay down the debt, the longer it's going to take to pay down the debt. So it's the same thing with business. It's the same thing with your personal life. Whenever you have an income, you want to take as much of that income as you possibly can to pay down your debts so that you get rid of the debts, take that monthly expense out of the equation in your life. And then after that's all done and that's paid off, now all of the income you have coming in is 100% yours to keep. You're not having to constantly, give it away to things that are keeping you in debt. And not to mention, debt is a form of slavery as well. So, it seems like a strategic play. It's not the best thing to do fiscally, but I do understand why he's doing it. It's going to have a long-term big picture. And I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of criticism that comes out about this the more that it develops, the more that Trump actually gets it into effect and, gets the whatever he has to get passed in order to get this working where people actually see money in their accounts, the harder people are going to fight against it because they're going to see that it's going to cause a problem for them to undo this once it's in effect or whatever, people are trying to run in the future after Trump is gone. So yeah, I think I see this coming down the pipeline that this might actually be a reality. He might actually do implement this and he might implement it where it's a government payout to the people, maybe even, once a year, once a quarter, once a month, whatever. And, it's just a lump sum that the people get from a certain economic bracket down. I would imagine it would be like maybe less than 80,000 a year or something like that, so that it's really given to the people who need it most in their lives based on what they make. But we'll see how that develops in the future. I'm sure there's going to be more to come about it this year. Now I want to jump into the Cracker Barrel rebranding and take a look at that and then take a look at um, you know, why that was done and when it's typically done, why it's done. So I'm sure by now you've all heard the story about Cracker Barrel and I guess it was the CEO, I forget her name, came in and decided to completely rebrand Cracker Barrel, change a lot of the design, the style, even actual style and ambiance of the interior of the restaurants, from their look to what the look had become under her watch. But Cracker Barrel scraps new logo design and keeps old timer after listening to customers. So this was the original logo, which I'm sure everybody knows what this logo looks like. This restaurant has been a staple in America for a long time. It's probably the most American, even though it's a big corporation and it's, doing a lot of the same things the other corporations do. It has such an Americana feel. Out of any restaurant in America, this is the most American feeling restaurant out there, and everybody knows it. But this was the design originally, as we know, Cracker Barrel logo, and then the barrel and the, guy here who I assume is the cracker or just the person that was maybe the original founder, but people have associated that. Then they rebranded to this, which looked very modern, very mainstream, not at all resembling that warm American feel like the other logo did. And they took away two key components of the logo, which differentiated from a lot of other stuff. Cracker Barrel said Tuesday that after listening to its customers, it will scrap its new logo and keep the old timer in place. We thank your guests for sharing your voices and love for Cracker Barrel, the restaurant chain said in a statement to Fox Business. We said we would listen, and we have. Our new logo is going away, and our old timer will remain. At Cracker Barrel, it's always been and always will be about serving its delicious food, a warm welcomes, and the kind of country hospitality that feels like family. As a proud American institution, our 70,000 hardworking employees look forward to welcoming you to our table soon. So they mentioned about the logo, but I don't see anything in here about changing the style of the redecoration of the interior. And I want to see, this is what they typically look like. That's Trump with the new logo. He commented on it too. I want to see if we could find, so as we can see, that's the old sign. Yeah, so if you've never been in one, this is what the gift shops typically look like. Really cool. They look like a country store, you know, or like a thrift store, but like a nice one. A lot of cool stuff like that. A lot of cool stuff hanging on the walls, old tools, pictures, and, frames of paintings or whatever. So clearly didn't work, wasn't a good idea. The people did not like it, and the market tells you real fast, whether or not they want what you are offering, and they don't care about your feelings. It's all about buyers and sellers, basic economics, supply and demand. So good. Glad that didn't work out because it's very ugly, and I think most people agree. And that's that. It flopped. But we'll see if they actually change the interior design as well, or if they keep it the way that it originally was. But they are actually reverting back to the original logo, so that's at least one good thing. So we're not actually going to get into the shooting at the Catholic Church today. Maybe I'll do another video where I dive a little bit deeper into that and just take a look at the case and the person who is the, shooter, and how you can clearly see that this is a spiritual battle between good and evil. That person clearly was into Satanism and, evil stuff, and had an agenda against God's people. And that's what this really comes down to, a spiritual battle between good and evil. But we're not going to take a look at that today. A lot of other channels are covering it anyway, so I'm sure you can find somewhere else to check that out. But if you know, I'm in the next video, I may do a breakdown on that. We'll see, depending on what I look into and what I discover. One last cool thing I did want to hit you with: RFK agency will reveal causes of autism in September. So I guess they're getting ready to gear up to tell the people where, what causes autism, where it comes from. And, my guess is he's probably going to link some of it. My guess is he's probably going to link some of it to, or at least disclose that some of it is linked to vaccines and some of it is probably linked to dietary things, the food that we eat, the chemicals that are in the food that he's been actively working to ban and to get companies to remove from their products. And many major corporations have actually gotten on board with that. So that is a good thing. And he is making progress on that, which is excellent because that's what he said he was going to do. And that's what everybody had hoped he would do. But we can all clearly see that something's going on. So he's been fighting for this for a long time. He did say that when he came in, he would definitely work to, clean up a lot of the dietary things in America, but also tackle some major things like autism, which he's made it a large part of his career is going against the narrative, the traditional narrative of autism and really looking into it. And you can clearly see, everybody can clearly see that autism is something that was almost non-existent up until the last 40, 50 years where you would have, every once in a while you'd have somebody who had a genetic disorder where either it affected them physically or mentally, and that person would, that be maybe a little different or how they acted or looked, but it would be very rare, in the past and throughout history. You'd have people like that, but it would be, slim to none. Within the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years, you have seen a consecutive increase in that to where the numbers are so high now. It's just not even mathematically possible unless we are doing something to genetically affect our own, bodies and then, of course, our offspring through, artificially creating genetic defects, either by how we take care of our bodies or how we take care of their bodies. And some of it, I believe, is actually reversible. And there is some science on that as well, but he spent a lot of his career, especially with his, I think it's Children's Health Defense, where he's, tried to do tons of research and figure out and get to the bottom of autism. But it looks like he's probably going to, expose that it is linked back on some level to some of the ingredients that are in the vaccines, depending on the different types of vaccines, and then also some of the ingredients that are in the foods that we consume. And you can clearly see that he's actively working to get rid of a lot of the chemicals that companies are putting in the foods and the dyes and things like that, and he has been successful at getting some of those banned and getting some of the major corporations around the country to remove those products voluntarily from their food items. And it's a good thing. Well, hopefully they'll go back to making things the way they used to make them, where they weren't making them to be addictive, but to actually create a mental neurological addiction like drugs, which should be illegal in itself because you're not giving people their free will to choose whether or not they want your product. You're making them artificially addicted at a neurological level. That should be, the same thing as dealing someone drugs. I don't see the difference. And it's also too because the average person doesn't know what those chemicals are or what the chemical combinations do to their brain when they buy that product. They're just buying something that seems like it's going to taste good. So there's not any transparency there. At least if you would put that on the packaging, it would give people the chance to see, hey, this is designed to make you addicted. And, if you eat it, there's a good chance it's going to rewire your brain to be obsessed with this food. And we're doing that because we want to increase our profits. Like if they were transparent about it, there would be an argument that people are choosing through their free will, regardless of that fact, to, still consume the products. But none of that, no notice is being given to the people before they buy it. And everybody's not a scientist. They don't understand what all the ingredients, names of the ingredients, they can't even pronounce most of them on the back of the packages, on the labels. So it's a good thing that he's changing a lot of this stuff. I do think he's probably going to come out linking autism to some of the vaccines and also some of the ingredients in the food, and then probably his plan to reverse a lot of that stuff and change it because we could have both sides. It doesn't have to be one or the other. We could still keep vaccines to a degree, and we could still keep some of the delicious snack products we have. We just have to change the formulas of what's actually in them because they're not being made to actually help people or to bring them a amazing product that they hope that people will love. They're being made to make people addicted or make people reliant on those things. And it's all about money. It's all about increasing profits and wealth. And I can see sometimes why some of the liberals are against corporations and they get angry and they, consider them evil because the Bible does say that the love of money is the root of all evil. And many of the people who run these corporations love money so much they don't care about the health of human beings that are consuming their products. So in a way, they are actually evil. And I can understand why sometimes the liberals say that and think that, but it's not all corporations. It's just the ones that are getting so greedy they're willing to risk human lives for the goal of money. So we'll see what happens with that. Just wanted to add a little interesting end to this where we're going to keep an eye on that for September, see what he has to say, and probably do a follow-up video. But anyway, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Like I always say, the channel is continuing to grow, so we do want to expand that. And, the more that you subscribe, the more that we can have the resources we need to, put out more content, do more videos, and, work towards our goal of having guests on. And that is something that we are actively working on. So continue to, subscribe and continue to like the videos and engage with them because it does actually help them, with the algorithms and stuff like that. You know the drill. And don't forget to stay for the end of the video. Take a look at the ad, the children's book on sale, our apparel shop, a whole bunch of other stuff. But that's it for this video. Stay tuned for the next one. All right, everybody, I just want to take a moment to promote my children's book. This is Little Boy Full of Love. That's me on the back. And this is a little sneak peek on the inside. It's a great book. It's a children's book. I actually wrote this for my son. And it's available right now on Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Indigo, Bookshop.org, and a lot of other online platforms. But more importantly to me, it's actually available in a lot of bookstores throughout the country. You can find out which ones are closest to you on my Instagram page. We highly recommend that you shop local, buy from a local bookstore. So if you are looking to, get a children's book for you or anybody you know, or even with the holidays coming up, it's a great time to, buy a children's book as a gift. Definitely get it from a bookstore that's local to you. But if you absolutely can't get it from one of the bookstores that are currently carrying it right now, and we're in about 15 or 16 different states across the country, so it may actually be in your state, and it could even be local to you. But if you can't get it from the physical bookstore, check out our Amazon storefront. The book's available on there right now, and like I said, with the holidays coming up, you may want to do your Christmas or Hanukkah or holiday shopping early, and you can even order it from our Amazon storefront and ship it directly to whoever you're gifting it to. But it's available on those platforms, Amazon storefront and bookstores and other websites that I mentioned. But I want to take a moment here to look at the storefront just to give you an idea of some other stuff that we have available on there. These are products that we highly recommend. They are things that we use in our daily lives, and it's all organized by category. So it's a lot easier to, shop for the holidays and specifically for things that interest you, particular categories. Available right now, many different items on our storefront. If you can see here, 61 items just in women's apparel, fall decor, because right now we're in fall, 26 items, kitchen items, baking specifically, things for around the house, children's toys, even stuff for parties. If you're trying to save money on a party and throwing your own, occasion, you can even buy some cool gadgets here to help you, put on a better party. Health and wellness items here, even stuff for Christmas. And there's the book right there. So you can get it from the storefront. You can get it from the bookstores, like I mentioned. But it's available on all these different platforms. It's really easy to find and gift to somebody. Also, I want to show you the apparel shop, and these are some clothing items that we actually produced. So if you're looking to get some cool apparel items, shirts, hoodies, long sleeve, short sleeve, leggings, even accessories, cell phone cases, women's makeup bags, fanny packs, coffee mugs, all different types of stuff, even some, art, all different categories here: apparel, homeware, accessories, drinks, even digital items. It's all on this store, healthybodygoodsoul.com. Anything that pertains to you or somebody that you're looking to get a gift for the holidays. A lot of great designs on here, a lot of cool designs that we actually custom created. Stainless steel water bottles, especially now with the fall and winter. A lot of cool hoodies and long sleeve shirts. This is a really cool one, I think, for women. The original Be Your Soul apparel, that one's actually really popular. People tend to like that. This one's one of my favorites. The free shirt. It's the American flag, and it says free, and that says not property of the United States government. That one's pretty cool. Got all different types of tank tops, hoodies, long sleeve, short sleeve, tote bags, coffee mugs, even some items for kids, backpacks. So if you're the type that likes to, plan ahead, I would definitely recommend ordering from the Amazon storefront or the apparel shop within the next couple of weeks to get everything in time for the holidays. Use code SAVE15 on the apparel shop to save 15% off everything on the storefront. So order within the next week or two, and you'll definitely have everything in time for the holidays. Definitely check out all the links to everything, the Amazon storefront, the book, and the apparel shop in my bio on all my platforms: Rumble, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify. But you can also find them in all the show notes for every episode that I post, and get all your orders in time for the holidays. All right, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. It helps the channel continue to grow. And put in the comments things that you would like me to talk about and make videos on for the future, and I will definitely do my best to do that. Stay tuned for the next one.